lives, people will want to know which games were the greatest and in which category. And they'll raise their eyes to System Crash for the answers.
Howdy peeps, I'm Swinehouse, and this is Best of the Pressed. Yet another one of those top 10 gaming, etc, etc. You've heard of these before. They're called opinion pieces, and basically that means whatever I say goes, and if you don't agree with it, I can always just say it's my opinion, or the opinions of the people who go on System Crash on Facebook. Anyway, enough babbling, it's not even the intro yet. Here we go. Now it's the intro, and congratulations for being here, not just because you're still watching this crap, but because you've probably made at least a passive hobby out of the world's youngest and most exciting interactive art form. Gaming! While films, TV and literature can only be observed, we have the ability as gamers to get into the universe, which makes it the only true interactive art form in the world, and if you don't agree, well, then you're just wrong. But while visual storytelling and gameplay all compete for real estate in our hearts, it's the music that ties it all together. I mean, imagine Super Mario Bros. Without any music. It would drive you crazy. You need that plinky plonky melody to stop you from punching someone every time you die. Yes, music is responsible for many of gaming's greatest moments, and as a musician myself, the music of games that I've played has always held a very special place in my heart. So with that in mind, here is the inaugural episode of Best of the Pressed, System Crash's Top 10 Most Memorable Musical Moments. Oh, one little caveat, there can only be one musical moment per game series. Otherwise it'll just be Nobuo Uematsu.
Number 10.
Resident Evil Guardhouse Basement. Resident Evil was terrifying, mostly because nobody who played it at the tender young age that I did had ever played a horror game before. Nowadays it looks like crap and is borderline unplayable, but this simple Jaws-esque repetition is enough to warn you that something was coming, or at least lure you into wondering what might be through that next door.
Wesker.
Number 9.
Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Grand Theft Auto Vice City was a masterpiece of sandbox gaming, building from where GTA 3 had left off with a character you could actually give a damn about, and a soundtrack less parodical and more contemporary. And what happened when that awesome tune came on? You drove better. Yes, this one isn't just about any particular song, but more about that feeling that you got in that moment when you just drove better because a certain song came on. Usually one from V-Rock.
Number 8.
Grandia, End of the World. One of gaming's most underappreciated titles, Grandia was all about adventure. Its theme tune oozed adventure, its characters wept adventure, and its story bled adventure. No more so than in that moment when you walked your characters up the wall that was to be the end of the world, only to discover that the world was that much bigger just as you had expected. The music fueled the idea of new frontiers and told you that the best days were still yet ahead of you.
Number 7.
Shadow of the Colossus. The first Colossus. There's never really been a game as soul-destroying as Shadow of the Colossus, a story of one man's genocidal quest against a series of gigantic but innocent creatures for what you really wish was a worthwhile cause. The game played out mostly in silence, but for the few battles that you did have against the titular Colossi, the music fit, sounding all at once macabre and inspiring, sad and yet determined as you wondered if you were really the good guy in the story. No more so than when you took your first gigantic life in cold blood.
Number 6.
Metal Gear Solid Alert Theme. When Metal Gear Solid first appeared, the stealth genre was all but non-existent. We ran in, guns blazing, and killed everything remotely resembling an enemy. Then Metal Gear showed us how to sneak past them, and a generation of hearts rose up into our throats as we prayed not to get noticed. Then, it happened. And you'd better act fast because the music sold you the absolute urgency of the situation, like very few have since.
Number 5.
Sonic 3 and Knuckles' Death Egg Final Boss. Sonic's always had a great soundtrack, and he was doing it long before Crush 40 even existed. At the end of the Death Egg level of the combined Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles games came that music that told you that this was not just any Robotnik, yes, not Eggman, fight. The music was far more sinister, far more ultimate, and far more monstrous than any other simple Sonic boss theme had ever been. He had the Master Emerald, and it was up to you to get it back. This music suited that scene perfectly. As for Sonic, shit finally got real. And gamers hate the childish nature of modern Sonic on the back of this track alone. Well, and the Doomsday Zone, but this track really set the scene.
Number 4.
The Chrono Trigger theme from Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger remains many gamers' ideal story within the time travel genre, and that is most likely because of that first scene, where you must travel back in time to save a character from annihilation. But more than that, the music that played just sounds like time travel. Its otherworldly melody, the chords that pump you forward, the overall timbre that sounds like nothing you can explain without quantum physics. Anyone who's heard this and played this will remember this for the rest of their life.
Number 3.
Still Alive, the end sequence from Portal.
This was a triumph.
We all chuckled at GLaDOS' sarcastic fourth-wall-breaking personality while avoiding the many ways she tried to kill us, but we never realised the full extent of her personality or obsession until that moment that we'd already killed her. Or had we? As the credits rolled, a pleasant yet haunting song played in which GLaDOS all but spelled out for us her bitterness and our ultimate folly. It was just an incredible mockery of all our efforts, laced with underlying sorrow.
The ones who are dead, but there's no sense crying over every mistake. You just keep on trying till you run out of cake, and the science gets done, and you make a neat gun for the people who are still alive.
Number 2.
Hyrule Field, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Of course it's The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. What did you expect? It's a game that made our eyes grow wide with amazement the first time we strode out onto Hyrule Field and saw what was then the humongous size of just one fully explorable area. We would then spend hours traversing this field, and while the music was not the actual Zelda theme, it fully encapsulated the magnificence of Link's quest. I, for one, will never forget my first trek across it.
Number 1.
One-Winged Angel, Final Fantasy VII, Seraph Sephiroth. If you're surprised, you shouldn't be. Of course it's One-Winged Angel. I could hardly do this video without mentioning Nobuo Uematsu, the man who legitimized game music. It was hard to boil Final Fantasy as a series down to this, but I'm sure no one will forget the moment when they thought they'd finally put that bastard Sephiroth down for good, only for the music to thunder in for several seconds before we even got a look at his final form. It made us angry, and it made us want to destroy the Crown Prince of gaming evil all the more.
Thanks very much for watching this video, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the results and agreed with them mostly. You probably didn't, and if you didn't, then slag me off on Twitter at Swinehouse. Either way, if you did enjoy this video, please hit the like button or the subscribe button and have a look at some of our other content, just in case, you like video games or something. Cheers.